the other fun part, first of all, your presentation, I have to tell you, and I've never done this in front of the crowd, dynamic. Right?
Yeah. Woo!
And that's not AI, by the way. That's Andre Lewis right there.
Dynamic. So, I want to start with, y'all never saw me with a folder, have you guys?
No.
No? I got questions. So, let's see here. You said you were sitting in the audience 15 years ago. What made you guys decide to buy your first property?
What made us buy? Okay, so back in, as I mentioned, my W-2 corporate job, I was working at Chevron and I was a drilling engineer. And Mike, he was a drilling engineer as well too. And at that time I started reading the books, you know, the Robert Kiyosaki, the Think and Grow Rich. And as I was reading the Robert Kiyosaki principles, the real estate deal. And then I was just sitting at my desk one day, and I just felt God talking to me saying, Dre, engineering is cool and it's cool for others, but you, my son, it ain't for you.
Wow.
And I said, what you talking about, man? What you talking about, God? So then he said, Dre, just keep taking one step at a time, and that's where the reading came in at, and that's where Mike and I, we got together and said, let's buy some real estate.
Yeah.
Now to answer going back to your question, sitting in this room, we went into NOREIA knowing that we was gonna buy a property.
Okay.
So that was the mindset where do research and all that good stuff and say, look, you need to join organizations, and that's when we found NOREIA. And when we got in NOREIA, it was just feeding that fire that we already had. And it just gave us more confidence to take action. So that's how our journey was.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I was in the room the night that you guys won the cruise.
Oh yeah,
It
that
was
cool.
in this room. Y'all ran up here, so excited.
Yep, for sure.
I remember that night. So that's why this interview is so special to me, because and then after that, I was a real estate agent at the time, and you reached out to me on 1 or 2 properties. I still have the email in my old email account, and you guys were just starting. So when I say to you that like he said, he didn't have a rich uncle, you know, they were just starting, and so that to build what you guys have built is tremendous. Now you told the story about your growth. I want to dig a little bit more into how you actually became capable of managing that growth, because I think what you laid out was splendid when you said, because that's where I'm at, like literally you said buy your first fourplex, then buy another one, then you got 20 something units, and then you realize, okay, well I got 30 units, I could buy a 26 unit building. Why? That's exactly where I'm at. Like, why am I buying a block when I can buy an apartment complex? So I totally relate to that, and I want to know what transpired to get you to the point where you realized you were capable of taking that risk.
So I'll say, that's a really good question, Stephanie. And I'm gonna answer it, and then I'm gonna give you a story too about the first property.
Okay.
So the confidence came. Now this is all right. So through NOREIA on that same cruise, we was sold a coaching program for a multifamily guru. Okay, and this guru at the time was making multifamily seem like it was so simple. And we bought our course and this thing like that, and this, that, and the third. Now, why I'm telling this story is this: to answer your question, for our first property, me and Mike, either being naive or just overly confident, we just figured in our mind that, hey, it couldn't be that much harder than on a duplex on First Street where you've seen 2 different people get shot and killed. Seriously, that goes in our mindset, and then along with this coach we had, making it seem like it's simple, like all this fed it. Now, while I'm saying this coach, I'm not naming a name, but the coach was horrible. Let me say that.
Okay.
However, it may be to our favor, where she was probably giving us 10% what it really means to own multifamily, and we didn't know about the other 90%, and we found about that other 90% when we bought that first property. But now going back to our first property over there we purchased, you know, at that time we had 31 units, okay, and these were duplexes and fourplexes. And one, we are numbers guys, so we did economics, but more importantly, the areas that these properties were in, like it just pushes out our comfort zone. And then once we got that comfort zone, we got comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's not a real story. For one of our duplexes, I was at the property at one given time. I seen a guy get shot and killed. Mike was at the property at a completely separate time, and he seen a guy get shot and killed. And
Same duplex?
Same duplex, same area.
Wow.
However, with that, and it was very unfortunate by all means, but for us specifically, as I mentioned, it just tapping that comfort zone, you know what I'm saying? So when it came to the 26 unit, I was just driving for dollars. Y'all still use that term? Driving for dollars?
Yeah.
There you go. Driving for dollars, and he was on the West Bank, pulling around the cul-de-sac, and I seen this apartment complex, ran down, people outside, people playing music, and I seen this rinky-dink for rent sign on the fence. So typically when you see a for rent, mom and pop for rent sign on an apartment complex, most likely it's an owner operator who you can get directly into. It's not professionally ran. So from there, I called the number and I said, hey, look, I was driving around by your property. Do you have any interest in selling it? And the guy said, hey, I do have interest. And there, that's the real story.
Wow. And you said that's the first one where you guys had an employee.
Yeah, so with that 26 unit, that's what triggered us because we needed a property manager. And that's when we hired our first employee. And you see now how many employees that we have, but that's what it was. So like from that for rent sign, that one call led to the 26 unit. In order to finance the 26 unit, we had to get a sponsor who I mentioned with Dennis, and that cultivated that relationship. In order to get the financing we had to get with a local bank, that helped us get learn what the banks look for in the bank books, and then we put that bank book in place. And you can just see how that one phone call led to all these steps, and you know the rest is history.
So I love how you are taking us through the steps. So far we have gotten that you started with a fourplex, and then you bought more duplexes and fourplexes, so you were fighting at it. And then you went in for something bigger. Now you mentioned Dennis. Dennis funded me for my first deal. Okay. So, and Dennis is someone who was in this room who still comes from time to time. He still comes, yeah. And he did it on a handshake. Yep. He did it on a handshake. And so again, it goes back to the networking. Another thing that I keep getting from you is reps, like working out in a gym. You have to consistently continue to build so you have enough of strength to go to the next weight. That's what I'm getting from what you're saying. And so I want to talk about optimization, which is a big word, but I understand it to mean that there's always a ceiling with optimization, but underneath that ceiling, you can literally do the best with what you have. You get rid of waste, you just optimize what you have at that moment, and then you can kind of scale to something bigger that doesn't have a ceiling. Talk to me about you've 31 plus 26 units at this point. What's happening with optimization and scaling?
Very, very good question. And I'll first start with this because this is a mental block that I see so many aspiring, growing entrepreneurs. You try to save pennies, but in reality, you're losing dollars. And in my case, it could have been millions. And what I mean by that is this. And you may not believe, out of those 1,300 units that we own and manage, I want someone to guess how many times I changed the toilet.
0.
Once.
What's your name, my man?
Stan.
Stan, you're a smart man. Say it again, Stan.
0.
Wow. 0.
How many times have y'all heard someone talking about buying real estate and they say, I don't want calls late at night, and the go-to is, I don't want to change toilets.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
I understand 1,300 units. Now what I'm saying is, and it's going to your question, you have to get in the mindset you're running the business. And this is 1,000 units, duplex, fourplex, 10 units. Even if you are good at with your hands, which I'm not, so that's why for the people that did, I'm not discounting, not just the wife, the handyman in my house. However, you gotta think bigger. You are a business owner, business operator before you're a plumber, mechanic, or whatever the case may be. So that's step number one, where you thinking you saving $100 from paying the plumbing. That same $100 of opportunity cost where you can be chasing deals, finding money, networking. So that's like a big shift that I see in a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs that has to happen. That's step number one. Number two is, once you have that right mindset that I'm an owner operator, there's two different things, you would get in the mindset that I got to develop process, systems, reports, and things like that. And that's gonna take some time to really figure it out. But the first thing is just getting in that mindset that I am running a business. That's just step number one. I can't express that enough. The processes and the things that we do at our organization now are completely different than when we own 10 units or 2 units. But for Mike and I, we just always had that mindset, like we run a corporation even at 31 units, and we just treat it as such. And part of that is just knowing what we're good at, knowing that we're not what we're not, and then just starting to acquire the talent along with the assets to really grow and scale the organization.
Whew, I'm listening. I hope y'all listening. This is some really insightful, I feel like I'm in y'all journey as we're talking through this. Speaking of that, when you said, you have to run it like a business, I do think that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with that shift of being the operator versus, I am personally struggling with being that operator versus the owner, And I look at you, Ozzy, and I notice how you manage people, and you continue to do that. And there's things that we have to let go in order to get more, And so thank you for pointing and answering that question, because that's a real answer. It's not a salesy answer, it's a real answer. All right, so another question I have, partnership. And Mike, thank you for being here. If at some point you want to come up, we got a third chair.
Good tall. Good. Go to taller ones.
Yes. Let's bring Mike in, and then we're gonna open it up to questions for both of you guys, because you guys are so gracious to be here. It's home for you in a sense. The next question I have, partnership. Let me kick up some dirt here now, y'all. What has allowed you, being partners, you get to do more, but the partnership has to work. But my question is, what have the partnership allowed you to do more quickly, or just allowed you to do, period, that you may not have been able to do alone? Is there something that you can point to that the partnership has benefited so much with?
Okay. So Mike, I'm gonna answer on the internal partners, and I'll let Mike touch on the external partners. So I like to differentiate partners in two buckets, internal and external. A definition of internal is Mike and I, okay? And what I mean by that, from the first property to where we at right now, it's all 50-50, same bank accounts, everything like that. And that's all the technical stuff. But what's most important is the values. Because I tell you what, to take $1 million haircut by yourself is completely different than taking $1 million haircut with your road dog and somebody in there with your trenches. And me and Mike, we just been blessed. So that's how it worked with us. There's other entrepreneurs who did it on their own in regards to internal partners. But I really wanted to highlight that. Now, in the internal partner bucket for Mike and I specifically, Mike is what you call more of the visionary. He's the big thinker. He like the grace. He pushing the organization forward, wheeling, dealing. He mostly out talking at events like this and partners and stuff like that. And I'm more the operations guy. So when Mike comes with the vision, I'm the guy that cooks it, right? Where I deal with the team and things like that. So that's where the internal partnership goes for Mike and I. But like I said, I'm not sure if Steve has a partner like that or what, and it may be different variations, but our partnership specifically, it really is like yin and yang and tied together. And I'll let Mike touch on more of the external partners.
Mike, I'm gonna move up a little bit. I feel like I'm in your space.
That's all good. I think on the external partner, it's really understanding how do I add value to them. And added value may not be immediate. And we know that the best long-term relationships in any aspect, whether it's business, personal, you know, you want to be able to allow time for that to season. And that doesn't mean that, you know, on the first date, y'all would get into bed, right? That's a bad on either one of those sides. But also, how do I be intentional and about adding value? And the same way that the values align internally is the same way for our external partners. We got very good cases of folks like Dennis where very early on, it was about how do we serve our tenants? How do we, you know, make sure that we're providing quality housing? We had bad partners who've been all about money and in the end have screwed us over. And so I think in that same instance, that values on our external partners is just as important, and taking the time to build relationships so that it's not just a transaction, but it's something that's going to be long term.
Wow. That is all that I'm going to ask right now, because we have an audience full of people. Unless there's something else that you guys want to share, I want to get the audience involved, and because this is a big room of people, I want you guys to be sensitive to that when asking questions. Try to limit your questions to maybe a minute, 30 seconds, so that we can make sure that we're able to accommodate everyone. I'm going to get up because we only got 3 mics, is that right? Oh, we got 4? Okay. Okay. Stan's gonna help get the mic around. And
I remember when y'all got y'all started, you know that? Y'all
Mhm.
remember me from back in the day?
From here?
Huh?
In these meetings right here?
Yeah,
Look familiar? Look familiar?
I remember when y'all got y'all
what
started.
you got, Grace?
Oh, thank you, Mike and Andre, for having me.
State your name too, if you guys don't mind, so we can learn each other before you ask your question.
Hi, everybody. My name is Grace Nasala. I also started here, and that was a few years ago. I'm excited to be here to listen to both of you. Right now, I'm having one of the biggest challenges because when I started, the goal was to pivot from nursing. I'm a nurse, a registered nurse. So from nursing, I always say as soon as I'm able to make enough money that I was making as a nurse in my real estate, I'll easily pivot. But every time I think about pivoting, it's the delays in, or maybe it's a mindset block that, okay, so what if something comes up and I'm not able to finance it, and I reach out to some partners.
Your question?
Oh, okay, potential partners, and I've been disappointed with people saying they will send the money and they never send the money, and I end up having to do whatever I have to do to make the money to continue with my deals and to have to finance my real estate deals on my own. So how do you deal with that? The partners who don't follow through, and yeah. And also pivoting from your job to real estate.
I'll touch the pivot and Mike, you touch on the partner. So Grace, that's a very, very interesting question on the pivoting going from W-2 to full-time. And it is absolutely a big, huge step, but it can be done. And what I encourage individuals that ask me that question is, it's never gonna be the right time. Your income from your real estate never gonna be that magic number for you to quote unquote match your W-2 income. That your real estate income very rarely would be enough to get you comfortable for the unknowns. But what I would say to that is the only way that cash flow is gonna get up on your real estate business is to spend more time and focus to it. And the only way to spend more time and focus to it is what? To jump ship. Now, I would say absolutely, you gotta use some practicality behind it. I don't know what your financial situation is. However, you have to be reasonable for that. However, I would highly encourage, don't overanalyze it, because sometimes you just gotta step out on faith. I literally just talked to my man, Mike, earlier. He just jumped ship last year. Not sure his method, but he's still breathing right now. He ain't dead. So look, that's what hey, look, even if you jump ship and gotta go back, it's not the end of the world. You still gonna be a nurse. That was my mindset.
Yeah.
When I jumped ship from Chevron, mind you, I had after this 6-figure job. I said to myself, Dre, if I fall on my butt, nobody can take this degree from Tuskegee University. I can get back to it. And it's fortunate we've been blessed that I'm still here today. So that's what I say to you, Grace. That's what I say to anybody in y'all